Place then, do you find
Sure.
that? I mean, you would expect that of them, I would assume.
You go into the restaurant and you say to those young men and women in the kitchen, who wants to own their own restaurant? I mean, how many are going to raise your hands? I mean, 95% of those kids are going to raise their hand. So, again, our job is to make sure that we're preparing them to own their own restaurants. But we also have to make sure their responsibility to the restaurant they're working in. And then, we talk about that 2-week thing again, which is kind of a bizarre 14 days. I mean, they say it takes 21 days to break a habit or 21 days to form a habit. We're only giving somebody 2 weeks to train. And then they come to you and say, well, we need 2 weeks notice. It's like, where'd that come from? I mean, who thought of that? Who thought that was really appropriate? When you're part of a true team and you're an integral part of that team, you need to go to the chef and say, well, I'm going to leave in 2 weeks. I mean, do you really think that that's a responsible thing to do? No, it's not. I mean, sometimes, you need to be planning your life. You need to be planning your career. And planning your career doesn't mean you're planning it 2 weeks ahead of time. You're just not. And believe me, if there's someone saying to you, you have to come work for me in 2 weeks or you're not going to have this job, then don't take the job. I mean, because this person that's telling you to do that doesn't have any respect for the person that you're working for, right? So then if he doesn't have respect for the person you're working for, how can he have any respect for you at the end of the day? I mean, it just doesn't work. I mean, the first thing I ask when someone wants to come work for me who's working for one of my colleagues is like, how long does he need you? 3 months? I mean, if I'm not prepared in my kitchen, in my organization to live without somebody, then I haven't done a good job with my team either. I mean, we have to be able to organize ourselves so that we have the ability to give the proper amount of time it takes to train.
Do you think, though, a majority of chefs do teach their staff, or some feel threatened by that? How do you find?
Ego. Believe me, guys, ladies, there's no place for ego. I mean, there's a small place for ego. Leave your ego at the door, and you'll be much better in what you're going to do. There's too much ego, in our profession.
So shifting gears just a little bit here, now that you're involved with other things, you recently signed a petition with Oceana, with 500 other chefs and restaurant owners.
Yeah.
Well, your name's on it. Your name's on it. But in case of those of you who don't understand, haven't seen this, Oceana is a conservation advocacy group, and the petition asked the U.S. government to prevent unapproved fish from reaching American markets by using tracing programs. And the petition says, and this shocked me, 25 to 70% of seafood is mislabeled, with common and inexpensive species often disguised as more in-demand varieties. And that the information that travels with each fish is often limited. And that's pretty much a quote from the petition. So tell us about this lack of transparency, and how you're involved, and have you had a response from the government, your government on this?
I'm not sure how far I've gone as it relates to that. I mean, this really is about the consumer. And it's not necessarily about the restaurant.
No, this is about
because we're buying fish from fishmongers who we work with for years, and they send you a piece of gray cod, it's a piece of gray cod, and the whole fish. You just look at it and know. It's really for the consumer going into the grocery store or to their fish shops and buying fish, making sure that they're getting fish that has value and that has true integrity to what the species is supposed to be. We're dealing with that in California right now with Proposition 37 and the labeling of food, the proper labeling of food.
Because aquaculture is a minefield of misinformation.
Well, the problem today is we're going to be dealing with this in years to come in a much more serious way. Where's our food coming from? I mean, at the end of the day, forgive me for those of you who wanted kids, but there's just too many people on the planet. It's hard to feed everybody. It just is. I mean, we're depleting our seafood stocks. We're threatening our oceans with aquafarming, and we're doing all these things just so that we can feed ourselves. And what's going to happen in 50 years when there's another?
But do you think we choose not to do that though? Like, do you think we could if we had better policies, farm policies, global?
I don't try to get involved in the government and what they view as correct and not correct as it relates to farming and fishing. It's a difficult thing. It's a hard roads follow, because there are so many hidden agendas in all these different things. I'm a chef. I mean, I want to, I work with my farmers, my fishermen, my gardeners, our foragers, in ways that I believe benefit them, benefit what they're trying to do. And people talk about sustainability, and it's like, should I really be responsible for sustainability? I don't think so. I think I should be responsible for supporting those farmers, fishermen, gardeners, and foragers. And they're the ones that are going to be responsible for sustainability. If I'm supporting the right ones, then it's a fait accompli. I don't have to worry about it. So, to think about that in a larger way, and understand that it's really about those individuals that you're supporting, and the ideals that they have, and the standards that they have. And if you really know those individuals, then you really don't have to worry about it. And it's interesting because we have a fisherman, we buy from a lady in Stonington, Maine, and we've been buying fish from her for almost 25 years. And that community there in Stonington, Maine, has been there for generations. And I don't really have to worry about the sustainability of what they're doing, because that's what they do.
Yeah.
They're there to sustain their community. And they do that by practicing what needs to be practiced as it relates to their fishing.
You've already vetted their
Yeah.
sort of thing.
So, so then it's just, so people come to me and say, you should be responsible for sustainability. Well, I disagree,
As long as you're supporting those who do.
Exactly.
Exactly. Question? Oh, right in front of me.
Chef, is there any opportunity in the future that you think you'll expand the restaurants, or less is the focus, less in quality rather than spreading it too far?
So expand the restaurants, you mean expand the existing restaurants or open more restaurants?
More restaurants.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea, this idea, this whole thing that chefs are caught up in today. And every time I do an interview with a journalist, are there any journalists in the office today? By the way. So anytime I do an interview with a journalist, they're always saying, okay, so what's next? It's like, well, what do you mean what's next? I mean, isn't this enough? I don't understand. Why does it always have to be something next? But it's this expectation that is always placed on chefs. Every chef that I know is thinking about what's next. Okay, we got to do something next. Because everybody wants us to do something. Is that really what we should be doing as chefs? I question it now. I mean, I'm blessed. I mean, I'm sitting here, having 6 restaurants and saying, I'm not sure it's a good idea. I've never already done it, because it's always this thing, what's next? You get excited about it, you get seduced into it, whatever the reasons are, you think you have a really good format, you have a really good team, all these different things come together when you open another restaurant. Is that what we should be doing as chefs? We should be doing that. I mean, as businessmen, so you go from a chef like I have to being a restaurateur. Okay, so you become a businessman, and businesses expand. All businesses expand. They're all always expanding and trying to grow bigger and bigger. But cooking is a whole different thing. I mean, it becomes very difficult. It's very easy to open a restaurant, but it's really hard to run a restaurant. And then the responsibility of running a restaurant is something that you're going to have for 15 years. It's not like you do it for 3 or 4 years. If you're going to really open a restaurant, you want to have a restaurant that has some longevity to it, that really becomes an important part of that community. You have to think about that. Okay, I'm going to open a restaurant, and it's 15 or 20. I'm French Onion now is 18 years old. I can't, I didn't open the French Onion and run it for 15 years and sell it or whatever. It's like these are lifelong businesses. And if you're going to do that, I have to always continue thinking about how you're perpetuating the quality of the restaurant through the team that's in the restaurant. Because as I said before, one of the excuses, or one of the reasons that we've used as chefs is, well, we want to offer our team, these opportunities to open a restaurant. And again, I'm always thinking about these things, so I'm not saying I'm right or I'm wrong. I'm just trying to analyze in my mind, what it is I should be doing and why we as a profession do these things. And there's lots of different reasons, and it could be a conversation that goes on for hours.
I think we've got wine in the car, so.
But it's like I'm not sure about expansion anymore, and it's not going to. Opening another restaurant for me is not going to change my life in any way that's really good. I'm going to have another restaurant that I have to go to. I have to make sure that it continuously has support that it needs, it continuously has the staff that it needs, it's continually maintained. You know, the reputation of the restaurant, all these different things are really have to take the responsibility for that. And, you know, I have over 1,000 employees. It's just crazy. I used to know everybody's name. I used to know, you know, so much about them at the French Laundry. Now, you know, maybe I know 10% of my staff by name, but it bothers me. When I'm not in my restaurants, I feel like I'm neglecting them. You know, so there's all this little bit of guilt that goes on. Are we really doing the right thing? And then I know that giving the opportunity to a chef because he wants to open his own restaurant really kind of waylays him from doing what he wants to do, which is open his own restaurant. Why not just let him open his own restaurant? Why should I open a restaurant for him? But he's just going to be an employee anyway, or maybe a partner in a way. But at the end of the day, he should be out there. I should be encouraging him to go out and open his own restaurant, not opening one of my restaurants for him or her. That doesn't seem to be the right way to do things either. So I'm not saying I'm not going to open another restaurant, but there's nothing in it. There's nothing new. The Bouchon Cookbook is new. I just don't know if it's really sustainable, that business model for a chef.